Good morning, sisters. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to be starting soon, but I guess I'll have to give people some more time to join in. So bear with us. I think, let me just give them 5 more minutes and I guess our host is here. Oh, sorry, our speaker is here. So I'll just give people 5 more minutes to join, and then we'll kick it off from there.
Okay. Thank you, NK. Hi, how's everyone doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine, President. I'm fine. Thank you. Just FYI, this section is already being recorded. So I think I'm just trying to give people like 5 more minutes. Supposed to start by 2 p.m. So let's just give them some more time. Okay, we'll be starting in the next 1 minute. Yeah. Um, okay, President, I'll hand it over to you to just open up for us before I introduce the speaker.
Okay. Hi, everyone, once again. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so we are finally here. Thank you so much. And on behalf of the association PCDF, I'd like to warmly welcome you all. to today's scholarship and study abroad seminar. We understand that for many people, studying abroad can feel exciting and also overwhelming, especially with questions around applications, scholarships, funding, and opportunities. So that's why sessions like these are important to provide clarity, guidance, and real information that can help us make informed decisions about our future. So I encourage everyone to stay engaged, ask questions, take notes, and make the most of this opportunity. Yeah, thank you once again for being here. And I hope today's session is insightful and impactful for you.
Thank you, Sister Maka. Thank you for that wonderful speech. So today, as she mentioned, we are here for the seminar about how to win global scholarships and fellowships. As she mentioned, or as we all know, this topic is one that is it's one that is very useful to everybody. First of all, I want to welcome everybody again to the meeting. If this is your first time of joining us in our PCDF seminar, we are glad to have you here. We host these seminars every other month, mostly every other month. And yeah, PCDF group is a group of young, vibrant ladies who who meet and who are in community, who have the same visions or the same goals of growth, career improvement. Here we are in a sisterhood community where we help and support each other through different phases of life, and most of us are in different phases of life. So we host seminars every other month where we talk about immigration, career advancement, spirituality, and you can name it all. So we are glad to have you here, everybody, both the members of the community and those that are also just attending this particular seminar. Yeah, so what are we here to do today? We're just here to talk about how can we get scholarships? How can we win global scholarship? Not just scholarships, but global scholarships and global fellowships. So today we'll just be understanding what are scholarships and fellowships, and we'll be talking about how to position ourselves. We're talking about how to position ourselves and how to build a compelling profile. We'll also be talking about how to avoid common pitfalls and like just everything surrounding fellowships, scholarships, going global and everything. Today we have one of us as our speaker, one of the members of our community. Who has gone through this journey, who has a lot of experience and has accrued or acquired a lot of experience globally. We'll be introducing her. Her name is Dr. Judith Njoku Vowels. Currently, she serves as a postdoctoral research associate at the University of Womi. Sorry, I might not get the pronunciation properly, but like, yeah, just pardon me. And there she works at the forefront of deep learning and cyber physical systems research. Her work focuses on designing trust-aware, human-centered digital systems for resilience in high-stakes environments. Now, what makes her especially remarkable for us for this particular topic is not just about her academic excellence, but her commitment to empowerment. She's well invested in empowering people, empowering youths through mentorship, training initiatives, public speaking, and leadership. And she continues to provide pathways for young Africans like us, particularly women, to thrive globally. So Her story is one of growth and courage and adaptability and purpose. And it makes her exceptionally qualified to guide us through today's conversation. So, without wasting much of our time, I'm going to be welcoming Dr. Judith Njoku Vowels to take over. So, please, a round of applause for our wonderful and our vibrant speaker. You can see her. She is ready. So, over to you, Dr. Judith.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Um, am I audible?
Yes.
I'm just going to raise my volume a bit. Thank
You're
you.
audible.
All right. Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on your location. I'm very glad to be part of today's session and to be able to share the little I know about scholarships with you all. Um, I'm just going to dive right in and share my slides. When you want me to share my slides, let me know. I think you currently have the screen.
Yes, you can take over. And I've allowed
Okay.
you. Give me a second.
So can you see my slides now?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay.
slide.
yeah.
All right. So hello everyone. I know I joined from different locations, so wherever you are, morning, good afternoon, good evening. Um, my name is Judith. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Wyoming here in the US. And today I will just be talking about this, sharing some stories that would help those of us who are vying for scholarships and trying to figure out how to fund your education. So, because I mean that's the goal for most persons, right? How to japa basically how to leave Nigeria or how to go ahead and get a higher degree. So everything I'm going to share today with you comes from lived experiences, research, and things I wish I had known when I started out on my journey. So today's session is called the Insider's Playbook to Winning Global Scholarships and Fellowships. And um, the key word here is the key word here is global, right? So, and a second keyword is insider. So we're going to talk about strategy, the real stuff. I'll try to keep today's talk within 1 hour and maybe a bit higher, depending on how much questions we have to cover today. So, but I would like if you'd hold your questions till the end of the session when I'm done speaking. So that way we're able to just address them at the end. Okay. So so I'm Judith. I attended FUTO, like many of us here. I studied petroleum engineering from 2009 to 2014. Then I went to Korea for my master's degree, and then I had my PhD. I'm currently pursuing my postdoctoral program after PhD. I like the host mentioned, I am a researcher in mostly AI, digital twins, machine learning. I'm also a Toastmaster, and I am a member of the Women in Tech Network, where I advocate for um, women's basically right in the tech space and empower women, specifically African women. And today, I hope that I'm able to inspire any of us here looking to, venture into areas like this. So today we'll talk about um I've tried to break this down to 10 different categories basically. So this is what we're going to talk about in cap. So we're going to look at what scholarship is versus fellowship to avoid mixing things up, how to find global opportunities, how to beware of scams, because many people are falling victim to this, how to build a winning application, what communities look for, mistakes, and some real stories I've found online. Then I'll talk about my story, how to prepare for interviews, funding beyond scholarships, and then resources I'm going to share after today's session. Okay, so first things first, what's the difference between a scholarship and a fellowship? So I ask this question because sometimes people get to mix them up and they can say they're applying for a fellowship when they're not even qualified to apply for that. So now a scholarship is primarily financial aid to support your education. It can be need-based, merit-based, or both of them. It's typically for undergrads and postgraduates pursuing degrees. So master's, PhD, undergraduate degree, it can be a scholarship, right? So it could cover things like your tuition, your living expenses, and travel, and runs for the entire length of the program. So 1 year for a master's, 3 or 4 years for a PhD. However, a fellowship is more about your research direction. So they're typically for people who already hold a degree or advanced degree. So postgrads, postdocs, or early career professionals could have a fellowship. So you could have a professor who is already in university applying for a fellowship on AI for ethics or digital twins. That's a fellowship specific to that area. Fellowships could last for as short as 3 months to as long as the fellowship allows, sometimes 2 years or more. So they fund your work, not just your studies. The money goes towards your stipends, your salary, your research activities, your outputs. So bottom line is that they're both free money. You don't have to return them back. They're not loans. And I've met people who were confused by this. You don't have to pay this money back. And if anybody's telling you that you have to pay the money back, then just know that the person is trying to scam you. So, and another thing is that the committees for these two types of opportunities are very different. Scholarship committees are often evaluating your academic potential, but fellowship committee is trying to see your research capacity and maybe your professional trajectory, right? So your pitch for both of them needs to be different, depending on which one you're going for. So today we're just going to try to address both of this as much as possible. I believe that most of us in the room here are vying for scholarships, but at some points we would also want to try out fellowships. So, okay. Now let's just start. Let's just start. Um, from where to find credible opportunities. Starting from here because most times people struggle with how to find scholarships, where to find them, or where to find legitimate scholarships, right? So these are platforms that I personally trust and have used. Opportunity Desk. This is my number one recommendation for anyone on African continent. They update daily. They curate specifically for African applicants and they cover scholarships, fellowships, internships, grants, the full range. We have Scholars for Dev. It's specifically focused on developing countries, very reliable, well organized by country of origin and level of study. We have After School Africa, scholarship tab. Then we also have official program websites like Chevening, Fulbright, and the rest of them, Commonwealth. So these are places that you want to find legitimate information about the scholarship you're going to. And I would say always go to the source. Always verify on the official website. No matter where you find this announcement, always go back to the source to find out what the scholarship is about, what the requirements are, and things like that. Before you do anything, go to the official website. I want to emphasize that because scams really do exist. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to share today with you what I call a master list of scholarships. So it's a document that has about 29 different countries across 4 continents and the scholarships they offer. So I'll drop a link. It's in my slide, and I'm going to share after the session. but it has, let me put that up right now. It has details on different countries. Let me know when you can see that. I just need someone to thumbs up or something and let me know they can see it. Can you see this Excel sheet?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. So, sorry, I had in mind the video, so I couldn't see anyone thumbsing up. Okay, so this Excel sheet I'm going to share later on has a very rich list of different countries and scholarship opportunities. And it even includes what they offer. So you can see if there's tuition waive, if there are monthly stipends, if it covers accommodation and airfare. And then some of them require you to learn the language. And then some are English-based programs. Then it has notes also for you to have more information, and they have the deadlines also here, application period basically, and then the resources. So this is a very great resource for us all trying to vie for scholarships. And I was just trying to summarize what you're trying here. We have about 10 different countries from Asia. On that sheet, they have scholarship opportunities. We have 12 countries from Europe, 5 from Americas, and 2 from Oceania. So these are very, very good opportunities that we can explore. And it's always being updated. So I would encourage us to use this Excel sheet. So now I want to just look at some comparison table of how the scholarships look like. So we have the Chevening Scholarship, which is a very, very competitive scholarship and is usually mostly in UK and master level and has around a 3% acceptance rate, but it's fully funded. We also have Fulbrights, fully funded, also very competitive. So this year from Nigeria, the rates diverse by country. So I say 4 to 46%, but if you're from Nigeria, like we have like a different rate, right? So we have to look up what Nigeria's specific rate looks like. But depends on how many persons are applying from that country for that particular scholarship. Then we have the DART scholarship, very transparent, Germany, medium competition at around 25%, and very strong for engineering fields, sciences, and also development studies. And unlike some other scholarships, this one doesn't require you to return to your country because some, like Chevening, requires you to come back after, for a 2-year home residency rule, something like that. Then we have Korea, Japan, China. They have like very medium competition compared to the other ones. They usually include airfare. China has lower competition and it includes medical and housing. Then we have Turkey scholarship. This one is very underrated. It covers your tuition, your stipend, your airfare, medical and housing. Then we have all levels from undergrad to PhD covered in this scholarship. So this document has deadlines, everything that you need. So I'm just going to encourage you to hold on to this very, very well. Okay, so we are diving in now. So let's talk about how to um find your best match, right? When it comes to scholarship applications. So this is one of the most entire slides in today's deck. So most times people ask, what is the best scholarship to apply for? But I want to also start asking, what is the right scholarship for me right now? So these are very, very different questions, right? And the second one is the one that gets you funded because you want to align yourself with a scholarship you're very well qualified for and you have a better chance of getting. So let's talk about some criteria that some scholarships look out for and um, how you can just think about it and how you are positioned for that scholarship. So, for example, if you have demonstrated strong leadership experience, you have like impact in clubs, organizations, community impacts, measurable impacts. Chevening is designed for you. They explicitly evaluate leadership potential above everything else. So you want to vie for such a scholarship. If you are research focused, maybe you're pursuing a PhD or a research-based master's, and you can articulate a very clear research purpose, Fulbright, or Japan's MEXT, or even Korea's GKS, they're natural fits. You want to look into those areas. If you are in engineering or applied sciences, that in Germany, is one of the most structured and very transparent programs in the world. They also offer tracks from undergraduate all the way to even postdoctoral research. So I want you to just think about all these criteria when trying to find a scholarship to apply for. So don't just apply for a random scholarship because it appears or has a deadline that is coming up. Now, if you are an African student or early career researcher, the Australia Awards, especially ARUA Awards, is specifically for African applicants. So that's another one to look at. Then, if you want higher acceptance chances, China or Hungary both have more seats, more accessible criteria, and less competition. So there's no shame in starting here. Build your profile, get experience, and then come back for bigger ones, or just go somewhere else. So if you want international exposure across multiple countries in one degree, Erasmus model also is one that you want to look into. So we're going to be looking at all of these, in more details as we move on. Okay, so the real opportunities here, we have 6 live programs I want to that you can research and apply to. So the ARUA Early Career Fellowship. This one is what I want to highlight specifically because it's African. It's current and it's perfect for many of us. It's backed by the African Research University Alliance and Master Camp Foundation. And they'll be funded for 2 fellows for 6 months at about $2,000 per month. And at least 70% of these awards are reserved for women. The deadline is coming up very soon for, I think, option 2. Yeah. And so if you have a PhD or you're close to having one, you can look into this right now. Then we have the Chevening Scholarship. It's a flagship scholarship fully funded for leaders. Your personal statement is everything that you need here. We'll talk about that also in a bit. We have the Fulbright Scholarship. Sub-Saharan African track is specifically open to Africans. They have about 400,000 alumni right now in their network. So this is not just a scholarship, it's like a community for life, a Fulbright scholar for life. And then we have the DAD that I mentioned also that covers, from undergrad to postdoc. If you want to study in Germany, best to start here. We have University of Glasgow African Excellence Award that also has up to 16 full tuition waivers for African students pursuing a 1-year master's in any discipline. So I'm just sharing all of this. So we're going step by step. But let's first of all talk about something that is very, very important. I want to spend time here because it's more common than people want to admit, right? Scams. I've heard stories of people who lost money chasing fake scholarships. So, rule number 1, I want to make it very clear that a legitimate scholarship would never ask you for money. It's always free to apply. If any organizations ask you to pay an application fee, even if it's just $5, even if it's $1, walk away. Real scholarships will not press for money. There are instances whereby some schools offer like internal scholarships, right? Because I've experienced that in Korea. They will have an internal scholarship which you can qualify for upon application, and then you apply for the school's admission, which requires you to pay an application fee. That's a different matter, right? Because you apply to the school for admission, and then while you applied, you were considered for a scholarship. That's different. But then if you see a scholarship that is accepting applicants and then requesting for some payment, that's a scam. Then secondly, if someone tells you that you want a scholarship and you never applied for, of course, that's a scam. You can't win something that you didn't enter. So they want your personal data or your money, and that's usually one of the biggest scams you see. I'm saying this one because it might seem like a no-brainer, right? But I've seen persons who sent me emails, screenshot, and be like, "Oh, do you know these people?" I'm like, "How did you get this email?" They're like, "Oh, I got the email last night, and I don't know if I should celebrate or not." And I'm like, "Did you apply for this?" Then it gets them thinking. So always beware. Sometimes people come with brand emails that look very, very legitimate, and then you think that you apply for something. And even if you apply for something, so maybe you apply for so many scholarships and you don't even know which one you applied for, and then that comes up. Could also fall into that trap. Okay. So if they're asking for your bank account details, your credit card number, your social security during application, stop immediately. That would not be requested for at that point in time. If they're pressuring you to act now, limited time, don't miss out. That's a scam. These scholarships have published deadlines. They don't pressure you. And if the scholarship has no eligibility criteria, it's open to everyone. That's a data harvesting operation. So please flee from that post. Then always Google it. Always Google it. If you can't verify it on Google, if there's no official website, no address, no record of past winners, do not proceed. If they're not transparent, do not proceed. Then another thing that is funny is when you have poor grammatical errors. So some of those emails, right? This day we have AI, so the chances of that happening is very, very low. But then that used to be one telltale sign. Like you have this email that is just full of punctuation errors and grammatical errors, and you tell, oh, this person did not proofread this, and it's just like one of those scammers there trying to make a quick cash. So yeah, so scams are real, and you want to avoid them as much as possible. You don't want to fall into that. You don't want to spend the money you save for something else, on scammers. So now let's talk about credible platforms. So we have talked about credible platform actually. We mentioned this. I want to emphasize that on the left hand side. Opportunity Desk, Scholar for Dev, Scholarship Tab. We also have Fast Web, Growing Mary, After School Africa. These are all very, very credible platforms to search for scholarships. But I want to talk about an area that most persons don't look at, which is first of all, we have the university's own websites. So your target university's website. So I'm saying this because I remember when I started applying to Korea for scholarships, I was just looking at the main scholarships, like the global scholarships. I was looking at they had like 3 global scholarships at that time, and that was all I was focused on. And I didn't realize that the university itself had their own research pages on their website where I could go and contact professors personally and then talk to them and see if they could fund me. So you want to go to your university's website and see what they're also offering. And sometimes also the university itself offers like 100% tuition scholarships for students, not the global one, just university funded scholarships. You might end up paying for your accommodation by yourself, but then that's something, right? So you want to also look at those opportunities and check what school itself offers. And then we have embassy and government websites. So if you want to study in Germany, you want to go to the German website for Nigeria, General Embassy website for Nigeria, you want to understand what opportunities they have for Nigerians in Germany, right? The same goes for Japan and Korea and the rest of them. So they always post scholarship opportunities that are country specific and often have very few applicants. So you want to look at that. Then university's national office. So if you're already in the school, you're currently enrolled there, you want to check with your international office and see what opportunities they have. Then we have alumni network. So find people who want a scholarship that you want, send them a message, not to ask them to write your letter, of course, but just to ask for a few minutes, even if they can get on a meeting, if they can't get on a call with you, they can always respond to you via LinkedIn and let you know what they did. Most times people are willing to share. So and then you ask respectfully, they can answer you. So most times the alumni are usually the best people to go to ask kind of questions. And then we have some WhatsApp diaspora and group chats and Twitter threads that provide you like real-time updates on what's happening and real-time alerts. And sometimes even if you have left that country, you probably might still be in that group chat and that can help others who want to ask you about that. So someone alumni can refer you to group chat that they used to belong to that can help you with such information. So these are other places you want to look out for opportunities. Okay, so now we're delving right into how to build a winning application. So I call this the application blueprint. So if you don't have all of these things on this list, then you need to rethink your decision to apply at any point in time. So number one, your personal statements or your statement of purpose. So this is the most important document that you will write as an applicant. This is where you tell your story, not just your CV, not your transcript, not your story. Why you? Why now? Why this program? Basically. So, and the key word is specific. You don't want to use generic essays here. I keep saying, yes, we have AI now. Yes, we have AI now, but you want to have an essay that is about you. Because believe it or not, many persons are still reading essays. They don't just skim through. They are only reading people's essays because they're giving money out for free, right? So if you're going to give me my money, I want to make sure that you are actually, who you say you are. So, or you're actually selling yourself very well. Generic essays always sometimes slip through the cracks, but in competitive situations, they don't. You want to put your voice into that essay that you write for that scholarship. Number two is your CV. Tailor your CV every time. The CV you send for Chevening should not look like the ones you sent for MESC scholarship in Japan, right? It should be different. So you want to lead with what is most relevant to that specific program you're applying for. Number three, the letter of recommendation. So you want to choose people who actually know your work, not just your name, not just your face. I will go deeper on this later on, but this is a very important part of your blueprint also. Then number four is your research concepts, notes, This is really for fellowship or those applying for PhD programs. You want to know what you've already said, what you've started working on and what you are thinking about when it comes to that area of research. It's usually helpful if you have had some traction, right, in research, so you can show what you've already done, and you can be specific about your methodology. You can be realistic about the feasibility of what you want to do. So they will know you're not starting from ground zero. They're not going to start training you again from scratch, right? Number five, supporting documents. Transcript, passport, certificates. If you need to certify documents, at this point you should have certified them. So there are some countries where, for example, like Korea requires you to certify your documents with the Korean embassy. Well, for one strange reason, it's happening very frequently now because I feel like the story with most Nigerians and fake certificates. That's something that we have observed has been on the rise. So you want to certify your documents way ahead of time because it takes a while to do that. You want to certify those documents first and have them ready before you start applying to a new school. So, okay, let's advance. All right, let's talk about what scholarship committee members look for. So, I feel like this is something that many persons don't think about. Like, what is someone looking for? You see someone's email, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm a first class graduate. I have a 4.8 GPA." In all honesty, your grades are not enough. Yes, grades open the door. They tell the committee you can do the work, but what wins that award is something else entirely. So I want to talk about 7 things that actually matter when you're applying for scholarships. This could be even an internal scholarship because some of us have been on that position whereby you are at the end of you are at the receiving end of someone's application and you're looking at the application and you're looking at how tacky it is, and how unkempt and messy it is, and you're thinking, how can this person work for us? So there are certain rules you want to follow when applying for scholarships. So first of all, follow the rules exactly. Sometimes you have word counts. You end up having missing documents or wrong file formats. This can get people disqualified before anyone even reads a single word of your essay. So you want to read the instructions and read them over and over again and make sure that you are following the rules exactly as they say. Secondly, you want to have a cohesive personal narrative, not your resume in a paragraph format. A story with a beginning, with a middle, with an ending. So where you came from, where you are now, and where you're going. That arc actually matters. So you want to tell a story that is even inspiring to the person reading it. Number three, specific evidence of impact. So don't tell me you mentor students. Tell me you trained 200 Africans in STEM, or you trained 2 Africans in STEM. There's this thing I've noticed since being at University of Wyoming. I've been watching the university try to recruit faculties for professor positions, and sometimes we have to attend those recruitment sessions and listen to them present. That's helping me also learn for when I want to apply. But I've noticed something that is clear in their resumes. Most times, honestly, looking at the resumes helped me also learn how to improve mine. But most times, I notice that they mention that they have trained or they mentored a certain amount of students, and then they go on to highlight their names. So they'll be like, okay, I trained 10 students during my PhD or during my postdoctoral research, and then they list their names and they mention where they are in life. So imagine a committee looking at this person and saying, wow, you've trained over 40 students and 10 of them are already working with Google, or the other 5 is working with TikTok, something like that. So it shows your impact that what you have done in training these young minds has helped them to, be relevant in life, and they're well placed. So you want to specify the number. This makes it more real. Number 4, leadership and community proof. And I want to challenge something here because when people hear leadership, they may think that they don't qualify. So, excuse me, we'll address this later on how you can qualify for leadership. You can show leadership proof in almost every capacity you've ever held in life. Number 5 is self-awareness. So this is something that communities genuinely look for, and many applicants get it wrong. If you pretend that you have no weakness, they don't believe you. What they want to see is they know that you are working on something, even though you are lacking in that area. You want to show that you're also working on that thing. I mean, this is a question that most times you get asked, even in interviews in Nigeria, regular jobs, they ask you, oh, what's your weakness? What are your strengths and weaknesses? And then you have like some template answers. But really, you want to be honest about this. I'm struggling with time management, but I once attended this seminar on time management, and I learned about some tools that can help you manage time. So it's a weakness, but you're working on how to improve yourself and be a better time manager, right? And then we have the next one, have a clear career vision tied to their award. So if you can explain specifically how this scholarship or fellowship connects to what you're trying to build in the world, then they can't connect it either. So you have to mirror the language, look at the mission, right? Show that you have read that mission, look at that mission and try to tie it to your application. But if it's not connected, then there's no point applying in the first place, right? So you want to show that this is actually connected. So it's like trying to apply for a scholarship for AI, explainable AI, for example, and then you're applying as a leader, you know, like that is what you're putting yourself forward as. You're not showing your skills, you're not showing how that aligns with your mission for explainable AI in that field. So, number 7, something distinctive. Committees read hundreds of essays, lots of essays. I've been giving people's essays just to read and give my feedback. And I actually have to sit down and read this. And some essays just jump at you from the first line. They just jump at you, and you can tell that, oh, this person, wow. And next thing you are engulfed in the story. You want to be that person, right? That part of your committee member in your story that you're telling. Because this is a personal statement. It's about you. It shouldn't sound generic. It shouldn't sound AI generated. It should sound like you. It should sound like how you would talk if you're waking up from sleep at 2 a.m. That should sound like you. Well, not groggy, but yeah, your voice is going to be in the statement. So if your summary is like everyone else, it's going to be quickly forgotten, and then you'll be on the pile, and then maybe they might end up selecting you because there was nobody else. So you want to be distinctive and authentic. So let's start from we're looking at the blueprints. So we're starting from personal statements first. Um, I'm talking about 5-step process. I like to break it down to a 5-step process. Um, First of all, you want to start very early to write your statements. So right now, I'm doing my postdoc, and I'm hoping that in the future I can apply for a faculty position or an industry position. I already have 2 personal statements written, one for faculty and one for industry. And every time I apply for a position, I go and refine that statement. I just touch it and look at it and say, does this still sound like me at this point? I wrote one in August, and I wrote one in December. I wrote one in February, and I touched it again last night. So you want to check, oh, since I wrote the statement last, I have done this new thing. I have picked up these new skills. I think I should go back and I did this. You go and refine it. It now sounds like your current version. So that's why you need time, and you have multiple drafts. So you want to start very early, 3 to 6 months before your deadline. It might sound extreme, but yeah, you need time. But because the best data assessments, they go through 7, 8, sometimes even 10 drafts. So you can't just write a 10-draft essay in one weekend. You need time to write it. Especially if you apply for a competitive position, a competitive fellowship, right? You want to have a very solid statement that sells you at every point in time. Number 2, brainstorm your story. Write down challenges that you've overcome as a person, your defining moments, experiences that shaped your goals. So at this point, you're not editing, you're just writing. Just want to write everything. So put everything down at this point in time. Third, structure it clearly. you want to start with your hook, then your personal story, then your goals and what impact you plan to have. So then you have to connect that to the award itself. Then a strong close, that's the architecture. Start with the hook, personal story, your goals, the impact you want to make, connect it to the award, then you close strongly. This is the workflow you want to adopt when writing. Then next is you want to write authentically, your real voice. Specific anecdotes beats vague claims. So don't tell them you're passionate. Show them the moment you became passionate. You want to also edit your statement ruthlessly. You want to read it over and over again. And does this sound like me? Does this sound like me? Read it aloud. If it sounds stiff or formal, rewrite it again. Ask a mentor, ask a peer, or someone who will tell you the truth. And submit an error free statement. Now let's look at the do's and don'ts of personal statements. So now use a specific, vivid opening hook in your statements. Don't start with something like, oh, since I was a child, I've always thought that, or I used to be passionate. I've always been passionate. I've seen this word, some statements I've seen and have this, they always follow that generic hook. You're trying to sound inspiring, I get that, but then it's just a generic hook. It's just like they're like red flags for committee members. Sometimes they look like they were copied from somewhere else, right? So you want to try and use your own voice. So next, you want to quantify your numbers with your impact with numbers. So instead of saying I help many people, you want to say I helped 2 persons, right? Or I did this, I did this number of things. So you want to use numbers to show the impact you have made. Next, you want to mirror their values. You can't send the same essay to every program you apply for. You have to let it be aligned with what you're applying for. Like I mentioned to you yesterday, I had to apply for a position, and I just had to modify my personal statement to align with what I was applying for. So you want to align that statement to the particular program you're applying for. What you used to apply for Chevening is not something you used to apply for Fulbright, but something you apply to Japan, or Korea. They are going to be different. Next is show your weaknesses and what you've learned from it, right? You do not say, oh, I'm some superhero. I'm very good in it. I'm very good in that. You have to show your weaknesses. It helps also to show that you're human. Reflecting this in your personal statement also helps in the story you are building, and showing how you have grown as a person and how you have grown as a researcher. Then use stories to show character. Don't just use bullet points, of achievements just to stay within the word counts. Tell a story. According to fast web, it says special statements are usually between 500 to 750 words. So you want to think about this as a standard for writing personal statements. So if it reads longer than this, then it means that it might be too long for someone to just keep reading, unless it's very, very interesting novel you're writing. But yeah, you want to keep it within this word limit. And always have a mentor proofread your final drafts for you. Because it might sound very nice to you and your AI agent that's helping you write. It might sound very good to you guys, right? But you want to have a third person look at it and give you feedback, and say, oh, this doesn't sound like you, or how about you talk about this? So, and someone who will actually give you a real feedback, not just scan through and give it back to you and say it looks good. Someone who will give you honest feedback. I saw this from UC Davis. They say that this is like a face-to-face interview. So imagine you're talking to someone in an interview and how you would introduce yourself. That's how you write your statements. Think about it that way. So this is your best chance to speak directly to the committee without you being there. It's like your slides. I like to make my slides so that when someone is not there, they can read my slides and understand what I'm trying to talk about without me being there. The same thing goes for your personal statements. Without meeting you, the person should already want to meet you or should already know who you are and what you represent from your statements. All right. Now let's talk about in the second one, letters of recommendation. So this is one important part and section that people most times trip up more often than not. I've had persons messaging me 2 days to a deadline. Or I know someone messaged me say today and then tomorrow, no, the next 2 days I got an email for recommendation. I'm like, wait, what? So This is something that's very important. That's a recommendation. Who do you ask? Choose someone who knows your work very closely. I know this sometimes is not always possible, but typically your research supervisor, professor that is in your area of specialization, or a professional mentor who has seen you perform, very good. You don't have, it doesn't have to be a famous person or someone who barely knows you. But I want to be honest about this aspect. Sometimes, say for example, me, when I was leaving Nigeria, when I was trying to apply to leave Nigeria, it was about 4 or 5 years after my BSc. And I was barely in contact with my supervisor. As a matter of fact, I was in contact with my supervisor until a point in time, when I couldn't make the trip down to Photo or I couldn't reach him anymore. And it became his letters for me became a bit stale. And I needed something that was very current. And sometimes you have to fill out some specific templates for some scholarships, right? And so in that situation, I had to form some kind of relationship with some other persons who are also in professional capacities. So it could be someone that you met at an event. In fact, you can seek them out intentionally. Now you have LinkedIn. LinkedIn makes it very easy. You can just reach out to someone and say, "Oh, I love the work you're doing in this area. Can you be my mentor?" If they mentor you for 6 months, trust me, they can write you a very good letter in that 6 months. So you have to be the one chasing them. They can't be chasing you around, right? You want to be the one who seeks them out and make sure you have that relationship with them, and then they mentor you, and they can give you a very good guide on what to do in any situation, be it professional or application wise, but then they can write you a letter. So this is one way to find who to ask if you're in that kind of situation. So, and then how to ask. Now, you don't ask 1 week to your deadline. In some cases, people do that. Maybe it's forgivable if they have already been writing for you, right, for a period of time. But ideally, you act at least 4 to 6 weeks before your deadline. So your commander has time to put their words together, and people are also busy. So you can't just spring up on someone and say, "Oh, write me a letter of recommendation. Tomorrow is the deadline." So you want to send in your CV, scholarship criteria, highlight specific area that you want them to focus on, maybe project or achievements that you want them to mention. Just make their job easy. So the more context you give them, the better letter you will get. And one more thing is that you're recommended writing generic letters for you, and it doesn't align with your statements. That can also be a red flag. So imagine someone who recommends you says that you have done this project and you've excelled in this project, and then in your own statements, you mention that same project. And you even mention maybe some struggles with that project. That's wonderful, right? Aligns very well with the story you're trying to tell. So you want to go for something like that. Then I want to also mention here an experience that I had when I was applying for this position. My committee reached out to all my recommenders. It was a very I never knew they did that. They reached out to everyone on my list. They had, of course, the normal letter recommendation, and then they also had an interview with my recommenders. So they got on a call with each of them, spoke to them to verify who I was before they proceeded with me. So you have to think about who you select as a recommender for every position you apply for. Then, okay, I already mentioned what to brief them on. Number of referees. It's always good to have a good number of persons who can recommend you. For certain positions, they would ask you for about four references, but it's good to always have 2 to 3. Most times, masters, PhDs, 2 to 3 references are okay. So it can be academic, professional, community-based, but you want them to paint a three-dimensional picture of who you are. So if all the 3 persons say the same thing, generic thing, you will send one letter. So now you have people sending you a template, say like, "Oh, use this template for me and write me a letter of recommendation." So imagine sending that same template to 3 persons and they use the same template to write you a letter. That's that's very terrible actually. So you you want to give them your CV and everything to build you a letter of recommendation that is, telling a story about you from 3 different angles. Last but not least, follow up. Send a thank you note when they submit it. Update them on the outcome. These are relationships. They're not transactions. So the same person may write you 3 letters over your career if you treat them right, even or more. So you want to always update them. Don't just ghost them. Just update them at every point in time. Okay. So um let me show you what winning essays actually look like. So I have to pull up some of these things from online, from people's stories and their real life personal statements. So and I'm bringing out some points I think would want to focus on. So first of all, a winning scholarship essay or your personal statement should open with a specific, vivid scene. So you will not say I'm passionate about engineering. You know, you want to use a hook that is very very interesting. So one very interesting winner I read online says biking 35 minutes each evening to the cafe and back to work. A 6-hour shift was exhausting, but my family's encouragement was worth it. So you're immediately in the story, right? And this is where you want your community to be. You're like, okay, so what happened next? You want, I'm not saying you should go and start telling a story about your ancestors, but you want to let there be a hook for your committee member. Secondly, I have mentioned this before and I keep emphasizing it. Quantify everything possible. Days, number of outcomes. Now, I saw one statement. Was a Quest Bridge finalist. It says the exact number of days his father was absent from his life was 5,900 days. That number is not forgettable. In fact, a committee member who sees that when he starts to interview you would remember, oh, he said this about his essay. 5,900 days his father was absent in his life, and that has influenced him in some way, which he goes on to talk about in his statements. So numbers make your claims credible. You trained 200 Africans, you trained, remotely, something like that. Numbers. Now, next, show transformation, not just events. You don't just be mentioning, oh, and I had this award, and I had this award, and I had that award. You have to mention how all of this impacted you, right? Because the act here is a challenge. How I responded, what I learned, who I became. Excuse me. Committees are investing in your future. They need to see that you have grown and that you can grow, and you can keep growing, and that you have some struggles which you can deal with, or you have dealt with in the past and can now deal with in the future. Next, I have mentioned before, connect the story to the scholarship mission. Like I said, Chevening wants leadership, Fulbright wants cultural exchange, the ARUA wants research capacity. So use their words, mirror their values, show you actually read their mission statements. Then you want to end with a forward vision and a specific ask. So don't end with, oh, I'm grateful for this opportunity. End with what you will do. Make the committee feel that the investment in you has a clear and measurable impact. So on the right here, I have like some examples of real results, but let's keep that and move ahead. Now let's talk about common mistakes that actually cost people their award. So some of these things look like I'm repeating them over and over again, but they're very important. Generic personal statements. So when you say, "Oh, I'm passionate about development," full stop, without proof, that tells me nothing. To fix this, you have to use specific examples, data, outcomes, show impact. Show me. Don't tell me. Show me what you have done. Secondly, is applying too late. Well, I have been in this situation also. You come upon a scholarship and it's just like, oh, this is very good. I didn't know I was qualified for them. It's just 2 days to the deadline, or maybe 1 day to the deadline. And maybe you even have to post a document. That even makes it worse. So applying too late can be another costly mistake you make, for a scholarship application. If you start preparing the week of the deadline, your essay will look like it's like, it will look messy. Also, your documents will not be well aligned, no matter how prepared you are when it comes to your academic, maybe you're accredited or something. You have to also fix other parts of your scholarship blueprint, your application blueprints. So you want to start early enough. Now there are instances where maybe it's your school that is awarding scholarship. Is a different matter, right? Maybe you can just walk up to the office and submit it, right? So you can done overnight prep. But even for this, you probably already have something that you have written that is somewhere which you can leverage to apply, right? You don't just start from scratch. Thirdly is weak letter of recommendation. Well, this is not often the applicant's fault. Sometimes the recommenders also can be at fault here. But you can actually strategize to have the best outcome. So a busy professor who doesn't really know you cannot write you a compelling letter of recommendation, no matter how senior they are. So, like I said, always choose your referees strategically and brief them properly on what they need to show, what they need to highlight for you, and then that's where they're able to represent your identity very well. If you have offended somebody, I want to say this for emphasis. If you have worked with somebody and you have offended them, even if you apologized, please, for your own good, if you can, find somebody else to write your letter of recommendation. Because chances are that in a professional capacity, if you were insubordinate to somebody, that is going to show up in your letter of recommendation. Because I will write that for you if it comes to that point. Because my reputation is at stake here. If I recommend you for a position and you go there and you insult their head, it's coming back to me. So I will put it there. I will say this person shows sign of insubordination. And people can do that also. So you want to avoid asking somebody who you have upset at the workplace, not like a personal vendetta, of course, in a professional capacity. You want to avoid such persons and go on to somebody who would actually, you've actually had a very frictionless relationship with, and you've had successes with that person. Then, no follow up or not reading the criteria. So sometimes they'll have a program that only has, openings for PhD applicants, and you apply for that program when you're not qualified. So please read the criteria for applying. Then no proof of future impacts. Companies want to fund people who will actually do something with the money. So if your application doesn't show your next 5 years or there are no research questions in that area, they can't see the investment. You want to fix it. Be specific about what you want to do and what comes next after that program, right? Last but not the least, scams. Be specific when searching for things, be detailed, you know, go to specific sources that are legit and avoid unverified sources. We've already talked about this before. Okay, now once again, I put up some things I saw online about people's real mistakes that cost them real awards. The first one says, I didn't upload one required document and I didn't catch it until after missing the award. So you can imagine that after missing the award is when the person saw that, oh, this is the reason why this happened. Well, I have to say that actually this happened to me when I think about it now. So 2018, I applied to my university for, honestly, I wasn't ready, if I'm being honest. I had gone to a period where I was just, I knew I wanted to leave for my master's. I wanted to, but I I was just busy with work and I was trying to get back into that grind of trying to apply again. And I applied just to get myself, started. And then before I applied, I didn't contact the professor. I didn't have a professor's letter of recommendation in my application from that university. And so, of course, I didn't get accepted, right? And that helped me get prepared for the next stage. So, something that you forget to include in your application, that's something you want to avoid. Now, the second one says, I spelled my own dad's name wrong and got rejected because of the mishap. This might seem like it's funny, right? But you're not the only one bearing your name. Somebody else has that exact name. What if someone else applying for that scholarship has your exact first name and then you misspell your last name and it matches their own? What are the odds? You never know. You want to avoid things like that. Proofread, proofread, and always proofread. Someone says, I missed the deadline due to time zone difference. Always convert deadline to your local time zone. Always set like 2 reminders. Now, this also happened to me. In my case, it was an interview. It was a massive 14-hour, 15-hour difference. And honestly, I dozed off waiting for that interview and I didn't make it. So this was an interview, but this can also happen with deadlines and applications. So you want to avoid things like that. Someone says I won $8,000 and never received it because I didn't write my name correctly on the billing form. So yeah, same like the previous one, right? So you will write your wrong name and they have to give you a check to cash. How do you cash that check if the name is wrong? So anyway, these are examples of things um that can make you just get dropped out of a scholarship application. And I would say this is why you need a tracker. I will share that later on, but you need a tracker to help you track each of your applications, where you are at that point, and what you have done. This is like a job. It's like a job itself, right? Someone says finding a job is a job itself. So that's finding a scholarship is also a job itself. You want to treat it like a job. And every day you have something that you're doing towards that direction. Now let's talk about the X factor. How do you stand out? So some things here I've mentioned before, I will keep mentioning it until we're done with today's talk. So first of all, I'm saying here to the right, I said they don't fund the most qualified person. They fund the person who convinced them that they are the best investments. So they don't fund the most qualified person. They fund the person who convinced them that they are the best investments. So it's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about making the committee feel that they're investing in you. It's the most obvious decision that they will ever make. So how do you do that? First of all, you frame your story as a global narrative. You're not just seeking an opportunity for yourself, you're building a capacity. You are part of the solution to create something bigger than your own career itself. And you have to show that this thing I'm trying to do, this is how huge it is. I'm a smaller part, but it has the potential to become this big. So you're building capacity. Once again, quantify impacts. I've mentioned those 4 items here that help you to stand out. Quantify impacts. I always keep coming back to this because it's very important. Numbers are very important. Quantify impacts. Next, you want to align very well with the program. Mirror the language. Show that you read their websites, you read their mission, not just application form. You know what they are doing. In fact, what even helps is to mention specific researchers, in that area or project that they're working on that you want to key into. Oh, maybe you've worked on this and I find it interesting. In fact, in some cases, if you can, read their papers, and that really helps. Anthropic, as this producer of Claude, right? You have positions right now open, and they have papers they've published, and sometimes it helps to just read them first. So I had one of those applications. They actually said go back and read the paper first and come back to this step. Wow, they pointed me back to the paper. So I had to go read the paper, and then after reading it, I understood. They came back and like, okay, I have to now talk about the paper and how I can help improve the idea in that paper. So it helps to go back and try to read something, about what they have produced or what they have done and how that ties to what you're trying to do. So then strong networks. So you want to build relationships with people who have gotten that position before or who can help you get that position or who have even gotten scholarships abroad. You want to ask them for, guide, if possible, mentorship to understand what the selection process looks like. And sometimes these arguments are actually inside the room where they're making these selections. So you want to reach out to people on LinkedIn and, establish those networks. Now let's talk about leaderships. Let's talk about leadership. So it's personal to me because when I was starting out, I would read scholarship application and requirement and I would be like, they want the leadership. And I would think, that's not me. I haven't run an organization before. I haven't done anything. I haven't managed a team. I don't qualify. And that thinking is wrong. And I want to dismantle it for every one of us here today. Leadership is not a title. Leadership is influence. It's impact. It's the action that you take on behalf of others. Right? That's leadership. So if you have volunteered, you've mentored younger students, you've supported family members in one way, that's leadership. If you've been translating your family document or something since you were 12, or you've been navigating institutions in a second language on behalf of people that you care about, that is leadership. So you have to frame it very well for the purpose that you or what you're applying for. So I'm talking about 6 different forms of leaderships that committees also recognize. So now I've mentioned caring for others, right? Let's talk about co-authoring a paper. So when it comes to research, you're writing a paper, you're presenting a research. Just co-authoring a paper requires leadership. So imagine you have 5 authors, right, on that paper, and you all have to liaise together and write a paper. You have to communicate. Somebody has to take a lead on that project. That's leadership. So if you're the first author, you're doing most of the contacting, you're doing most of the setting up of, interaction between co-authors. That is leadership. You want to talk about that also. And that is academic leadership. Now, if you've organized anything, say a church event or a community initiative, a study group or a club meeting, that is leadership. It doesn't matter the skill. What matters is how intentional you are, how you were with that task. You can prove that in writing. Now, if you find anything, a business, a WhatsApp group chat, a blog, a small community program, that's entrepreneurial leadership. That's also a form of leadership, and you can use that also to sell yourself. If you speak publicly about matters, maybe you're a woman in tech or you're a STEM speaker or educator, African Women Initiative, something like that, you're a speaker, you're advocating, that counts as leadership, right? Because you are influencing people out there. Then we have teaching. So if anyone has ever learned anything from you, if you've tutored, you've mentored, you've coached, you are a leader. So you want to own it. So today I want to challenge you to write down 5 times in your life when you've demonstrated leadership. That would help you to have options of what to talk about when it comes to leadership capacities for applications. You can pick the best one or two and then use that to build a leadership narrative around that. Okay? All right. So now let's talk about your personal brand. I love this one very much because I like to see myself as a brand. So you're not just an applicant, you're a brand. Committees invest in people, not just your credentials. So you're first class, and all of that. No, you are a brand yourself. So you want to your brand to have a very consistent story, right? Across every platform, every document, every interaction. So your CV, your personal statements, your LinkedIn profile, your research page, your Twitter, they should all tell the same story about who you are and what you're building. So first of all, you want to define your unique value proposition. What problems do you solve? What gap do you fill? For me, throughout my PhD and even right now into my postdoc, what I was mostly working on was battery AI, digital twins, explainable AI, and that is what I was known for. So if you mention digital twins anywhere in my school or in my lab and department, you would mention my name. So that is my brand. So and even now where I find myself, I'm also working on digital twins. If you mention digital twins, you mentioned me. So you want to create a brand for yourself around something, around a value proposition. Maybe you are building African research capacity globally. That's a research. That's a brand, right? That's a specific differentiating statement about who you are. So think about what your value proposition is in, today. Now, second thing is committees Google you. You may not believe that. People actually take the time to Google you up. I've been on committees where I'm not even scared to open your LinkedIn profile because yeah, we are recruiting you anyway. So it's not nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to look at your LinkedIn. I'm googling you up to see what you have on your Twitter. And this is very important if your funders, the funding is very sensitive that they don't want to recruit someone who has some kind of controversy or political controversy. So they're looking at your profiles, they're looking you up and are checking who you are and who you represent. So before your interview, before they even shortlist you, they will look you up. And what would they find? So make sure your LinkedIn is current, it's professional, tells your story. Make sure any public social media is consistent with who you're representing yourself to be. And this happens also with visa, especially US visa applications. They'll ask you to include your social media handles on your application, and then they're going to check your profile. If you've been posting about, their president and stuff like that, you probably might have some disadvantage. But yeah, you want to be positioned very well when uploading such links in your applications. Next is network publicly. Even every LinkedIn post you'd write about research, about opportunities that you found, that is your brand reinforcement. So you're becoming someone who is generous with knowledge, right? So that matters to committee. It matters to your referees also. It matters to future employers. So start building in public now, even if you have just 50 followers. Network. Reinforce your brand. That is your personal brand. So think about how you want to build your personal brand today. Let's talk about scholarship interview. How to win the room. So some common questions. I won't spend too much time here because yeah, if we've all been in an interview room in Nigeria for a job or something, you've probably seen some of these questions, right? So think about how to answer questions, how to answer interview questions. So not all classes have interviews. Some have interviews, some do not have interviews. For the ones that have interviews, here are questions that you want to think about when answering, you know, questions like this. I want to go to one particular question to save time. So tell me about yourself. Of course, I think we've addressed that at this point. No, I want to say one thing first of all. If you have a question you want to rehearse it, write it out, rehearse the answer, record yourself saying and polish it. Don't really memorize it. I mean, if you say something over and over again, it helps you bring your memory remembers. But then don't memorize, just own that thing you're saying and see how you sound when saying it and practice it yourself for any physical interview. Yeah, so yeah, what I want to talk about is what you will do with this award. Yes. So what will you do with this award? Sometimes you have questions like this that come up, right? So you don't want to see a forward vision thinking person. So you tell them specifically, not I will use this experience to grow. You want to say, okay, when I get back to my country, these activities I want to do. Especially if the award is for those who have to return to their country after a specific period of time, right? So you want to specify what you want to do with that award, how that will impact your country, in more ways than before. Maybe they have like transportation issues, and then you're researching on transportation issues, and then you're going to come back and help improve transportation in your country. So then you want to describe. So you said describe a challenge you overcame. Yeah, I was going to that. Describe a challenge you overcame. Now for this, I would recommend using the STAR method. Set situation, task, action, results. What was the situation you found yourself in? What was the task you were supposed to complete? What was the action you took and what was the result? So this is how you describe a challenge and how you overcame it, right? Because every answer needs a concrete outcome, not what happened, but what changed because of you. What experience did you get? How did that help you change from that experience? So, and what makes you different from other applicants, from other candidates? This is your elevation pitch. This is where you put your unique value proposition, your brand. So here you don't have to be modest. You won't be like, oh, I don't want to brag. Please brag at this point. Be specific. And please always acknowledge the specific weakness. Be self-aware of what you lack, and how you are trying to become better at that thing. That's what helps you sell. Okay. So one person will say, I struggle with delegation, but I've been actively building this skill. It's more credible than someone saying I work too hard or I work very hard or I multitask. That's like a typical response, right? So now to mention here, I don't know if I had this in the slide, but um I think I'll go to this later. But yeah, I want to talk about the art of contacting your professors or supervisors before you apply for a position, right? So that's for many fully funded programs, including postdoctoral fellowships. Some of them will have a professor, a prospective professor in your institution who is aware of you before you apply. So I want to point on that later on if I haven't done that. So I'm just mentioning that now in case anybody has a question about that later on. Okay, so I want to talk about my story. Yeah, so I think this is where I'll talk about that. So, yeah, I when I finished from Futo 2014, I was already bent on leaving the country, going for my masters, and I remember then I was just researching. I was on Naira Land. I joined so many Korean and scholarship websites and groups. I went to about three meetings. They all wrote me like the standard letter recommendation, right? And then, honestly, I wish I had a mentor at this point in time because I had so many things I wanted to do. I just didn't know anyone, anything, to talk to, and I was just doing everything by myself. So joining Ireland and having persons online who I could ask questions of also helped. And then, but my first mistake was skipping TOEFL or any English exam. I was there thinking, oh, Nigeria is an English speaking country. Surely that's enough. It was not enough. So how do you stand against people who are from the US, who are from Australia, like in a country like Korea or Japan or China, and even in a country like US that requires you to write GRE and the TOEFL and IELTS? How do you stand as a competitor against such persons, right? So this was my first mistake, not writing this exam and trying to apply to so many schools and then getting rejected and then it dawned on me that, oh, I didn't have this particular document. And I was getting I got a letter from my school that says I have studied in English language. And if you know Futo, you always have to pay for each letter. So by the time you check the cost of each letter, and compare it to the cost of the exam, just write the exam, right? So, and then my second mistake was bigger. Another time I found agents online. In my search, I stumbled upon some contact and I was chatting with different agents in Nigeria, people who said they could help you get scholarships. And then they all told me the same thing. Someone said, "Oh, you need to have a first class to get a scholarship." One said, "Oh, and you need to have like a 4.8 GPA to get a first class." Somebody else said, "I need to pay. I need to have money. Yeah, I should go save up first, but I won't see a full scholarship." So many information. Now, bottom line is that they were trying to make money, right? So if you pay them, then they will help you. But my point is, do not rely on agents. You can do this yourself. Think of what you can do by yourself. If you can't, ask for help from anybody around, anybody who you see who has done that before, and they can help you. Avoid agents. They're only trying to make money. Now, after my setback between 2014 and 2017, I went on with my life. I was like, okay, let's go make money. Let's go save money. Let's just try and save money first and before we think about going back to apply. My thought then was I'll apply for because I was seeing that some schools had like 50% off scholarships. I would pay for my other half by myself and then I can survive. That was my plan. Save up and jump. And then that cost me, of course, a couple of years. So you can imagine what it means when you are listening to the wrong person. This can cost you time. So 2016, I started researching again, and this time I found stories of people with even 3 point GPA. Wow, who landed full scholarships. And I'm like, wait, I have to get back in the game. So I started over again. But then, when you are I was working in the bank then, and then you're already engulfed in the work. You probably go to work. I go to work at 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. I'm going back around 11 p.m. There's no time to even think about these goals that you have set. So you have to not be intentional about this thing. So that's really caught up, like, ate up so much of my time before I got back into the grind. It took me about 2 more years. And 2018, I made my first application to my university and two other universities at that time. Just wanted to get myself back in the game and just start thinking about this, study abroad thing. And then in 2019, I applied and I got a position, scholarship position with my department at that time. After some interviews and tests, and then I came to Korea, right? So, and then while I was there, I had my master's, I had my PhD. Fast forward to today, I'm currently doing my postdoc here. But I want to tell you what happened because the timeline for my postdoc was very interesting. So I applied for this position August 2024, and I was graduating August 2025. That's a full year away. But I applied anyway. But I still have some songs to tell you apply in 6 months of graduation. But I was within 1 year of graduation. I didn't even have my thesis done. I was still writing it. So I'm just saying that always think about how you can apply ahead of time so that when you get to that point, you're not stranded or thinking of what next to do, or overstaying your visa and things like that, or thinking of what to do after graduation. So you can apply even 1 year ahead. You can apply 6 months ahead of time. And then I recall that when I applied for this position was August, and I was invited for interview 27th of November. And then I had two sets of interviews first with the panel, and then I had a third interview with the main recruiter, and then I thought that they had forgotten about me. Then was it in May? I got a verbal offer, and then I got an offer officially sometime in May again. Then I applied for my visa in July, and by August, about 5 days after my graduation, I was out of the country. So, and that was my goal. I didn't know I was going to get to that point, but I achieved it. And 4 days, I moved my entire life across the world to a different part of the world. So this can happen to you too. You can get an opportunity, and it's just at that point that you have to leave. You don't want to start running health aspect. You have to be prepared ahead of time for such situations. And so, yeah, this is my story. And I wish I had known some of these other things before I started applying, and I hadn't listened to some persons, right? Or listened to all the no's and all the impossibles that people told me that made me lose some years before I actually eventually applied. And then let's move on. Trying to see. I used up 1 hour, almost 30 minutes. Oh, okay. Well, so now let's talk about the scholarship tracker. We're almost done. I talked about a scholarship tracker. So I like to keep I use this when I was applying for my postdoc, and I think it's going to be very so I made up one just to share with you all today. Um a scholarship tracker. So something that helps you, even for jobs, right? It helps to track each of them. So, and even if a scammer came and said, "Hey, congrats, you've won Chevening scholarship," you come back and check your list and say, "Oh, when did I apply for this?" And it's not there. Then you can avoid that scam, right? So, and this also helps you stay organized. So you're applying to not have them on your list. That is going to be really, really confusing when they start reaching out to you. Sometimes also maybe some profs responded to you, and then you replied only maybe the number two persons who seem like the most viable for you, and then you ignore the rest. If you have a scholarship tracker, say for example those two eventually drop you, you can always go back to the persons who you not respond to, right? But if you don't have a tracker, you don't remember them, and they might just slip out of your list. I found persons who I reached out and like, wait, at this person we have a mail trail before, and I forgot about them, right? I didn't have any way to remember that I had applied to those persons before. So this is going to help you to keep track of the professor, what you applied for, And sometimes this is very good for those in fields like AI, because AI can be applied to almost anything, right? So I can apply for AI for agriculture, AI for manufacturing, AI for any of this. And my skill I'm bringing to that place is AI, right? But the professor is different. Their fields are different. So this will also help you know what to apply for. And maybe you've been in that situation whereby you receive an email for an interview and you're thinking, who is this person again? That happened to me last year also. I was just like, why did I apply for this position? I started going back to my emails to check. And I had a list then I had written out on a book. I was just checking to see when I applied to that position. And then that's when it dawned on me how to make a list of all these things on an Excel sheet and then just document them and just follow line by line. So when I see an email, I'm okay, this is from this professor, okay, this is very strong, okay, this is this person. Because you're not rich, you need something to help you remember. So I'm going to share this later on. This just to help you. I also have email templates here and then document checklist of if you don't have all these things, you don't have all these things on these documents saying ready, ready, you shouldn't even decide to apply because you're wasting your time. So make sure you have all these documents, especially when they're required for certain scholarships, you know. Then yeah, deadline planner, strategy guide, and how to use it. So this is a very important tracker, which I believe we all need to have, even if it's not for scholarships, but for other things, right? Okay. So I want to talk about other funding avenues that we can also consider. So not just scholarships and fellowships. Yeah, we have research fellowships, right, that pay your salary and the cost for you to conduct research. And then we have professional development awards. These are like funded training, certifications, and workshops, leadership programs. They're not degree based, but they also fund, short-term fellowships, and they're also available online. We also have university-specific aids. So many universities have their own TARA programs that you will not really see online, but you can find out about if you email them and ask about their position. So they offer like stipend packages for maybe the fall, spring semesters, maybe not for summer, but for fall, but just for when school is in session. And then you also have conference and travel grants, right? You have a conference your friends attend and you want to be able to fly down there. You can apply for a grant from the conference and they can pay for your flights and pay for your registration fee also. Then yeah, we have even corporate and industry scholarships that help you fund specific internships. All right. So yeah, I was just going to highlight specific women targeted scholarships and fellowships. So being a woman in Africa is not its advantage. Like I'm saying, it's like it's a flex basically. So and you want to use it very well. So they have so many scholarships that are reserved for only women or mostly women, or they try to diversify and prioritize women also in those awards. So you want to look at those scholarships and try to apply to them. Okay, so my call to action for you is what to do after today's session, right? Right now, if you are in this pipeline applying for a scholarship or a fellowship or you want to apply for it, right now, um, I want you to start planning for what you want to do, right? Start planning because we're going to talk about the action plan. But let's say you got an award and um sorry, I'm gonna skip this slide. Yeah. All right, this should come first. Yes, this one. So right now you want to visit all the resources we have shared today, visit them, identify opportunities that you are eligible for, save deadlines in your calendar right now, and have your own tracker set up with all the schools you want to apply for, all the opportunities you want to apply for. Then this month update your CV to match the opportunity. In fact, if you can even have like 4 CVs, it's fine. But just have them ready for all the applications you want to apply for. Next, draft a personal statement. Reach out to potential supervisors at this point. You know, let your statements reflect what they are doing in their lab or in their research area, right? And then identify 2 to 3 referees that you want to recommend you. Write your letter, and then reach out to them this month. The next 3 months, get your CV, your SOP reviewed by a peer or a mentor who can give you feedback, and then go through the drafting stage of refining and refining and refining. Complete all your documents that you need, your checklist, complete them in the next 3 months, and then submit. Celebrate and move on to the next application. So yeah, don't just celebrate and relax because this is a competition, right? So you want to put your eggs in several baskets, not just in one basket. And I like to say that you should try to diversify. You want to apply for 2 to 3 competitive ones, apply for 3 medium competitive ones, and then apply to a few non-competitive ones to spread, your wings across. Then let's go back to the previous slide. Now, you've gotten the award. Immediately, you want to reply to that offer and on time. You want to read all the conditions of the award carefully, right? You want to check if they have any bond requirements for you to return back to your country. And you want to notify your current employer about if you want to japa, you want to resign, basically. So notify your institution about what if you are leaving, and all of that. So then in the first 4 weeks, you are beginning your visa application. Some visas take about 4 to 6 months, so you want to really, really take your time. So you don't just go and celebrate and forget about it. No, you want to start immediately. So then you want to request your official enrollment letter, acceptance letters, and confirm your housing arrangements and things like that. Health insurance also is very important. I know for UK schools, sometimes you have some UK schools requiring you to pay for your insurance before you come ahead of time, even when you already have scholarship. So you want to check all these things first. Don't assume you have all these things covered. Make sure they're all covered before you even start proceeding with your visa application. And then you want to sort your documents. So certified documents before you depart. You want to make sure all your documents are certified because it's going to be very terrible if your documents are not certified. You go to the country and they ask you to bring certified documents, and start looking for who is going to Nigeria, who's going from Nigeria, who's going to help you go to the embassy, things like that. So, and then please brief your referees, update them, thank them that you've gotten this job. Let them know that you've gotten the job and you want to appreciate them for them helping you get the job. If you want to learn language, start your language preparation if required. So you can already be in that space, of being in that country. And then sometimes you have ongoing obligations while you're in that country. You probably have to return to your country afterwards. Plan for this. Maybe you have to maintain a GPA. Some scholarships say maintain 3-point GPA over 4 points, or maintain 3.5. You want to make sure you maintain that GPA while you are there. Try to participate in scholars network events. Some scholarships require to file academic progress reports. So prepare for that. So think about all these things also when you get the award. That's not the end. You still have work to do afterwards. Okay, so now we're wrapping up. Just summary of everything that I'm going to place and provide for you in today's presentation. I have a link to the spreadsheets here. So it's currently being updated with more scholarships and with deadlines. So I'm going to share this with you also. And then I'm going to attach also the documents for the tracker also, along with resources that I provide for you. But these are very useful things you want to have for your application. And yes, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn account. Just search for me, Judith Njoku Vowels or Judith99. Pulls me up. Yeah, so thank you very much. I know we've spent some time, but now you feel free to ask me any questions you have. Thank you. Okay, so I think I see a question here. Sometimes these scholarships require a first-hand experience or coach. How do we navigate this? For instance, I applied for the MES scholarship twice, but I never got a reply, although I submitted all the required documents. Currently, I know someone who has been applying to. Yes, like I said, it's a competition, right? It's a competition. It's a competition of between you and other persons who are well positioned. And sometimes also, like I mentioned, it helps you to have a professor in the university because I know for MEXT is almost similar to Korea's GKS. And sometimes you can have a professor who is in the university who you have contacted who you want to work with. So now let me just tell a short story. When I was applying for my master's scholarship, then I reached out to my professor, and we started almost working together before I came to Korea. Like he was sending me tasks, and I was working on something about batteries, and they would send me the codes. I would go through the codes. I will debug and then provide my feedback. So some professors allow you to work with them before you come. So it can really help you to try to build a relationship with somebody in that school before you apply. And then you can be like, oh, I'm applying for this scholarship. Um, and then they would back you up, right? So that helps you competitive compared to somebody who just applied without knowing anybody in that school. So think about it that way. How do you want to stand out from compared to somebody who is already having a backer basically? So and then most scholarships will also encourage you to also have somebody, and if they can write a letter of recommendation and include that in your application, that also helps you stand out. So I think you should consider reaching out to a professor in that university that you are highlighting for next. And if you're applying through the embassy track also, that is more of a competition than applying through school. So most I recommend going through the school directly when applying for such scholarships. You can ask your questions.
I think we have another question from the same person, Pascal.
Hmm. Okay, so I think like you have two questions. Please, can we know if there's any beneficiary that could be of help in terms of guidance for some specific scholarship? Well, like I said, so LinkedIn is a very good place to go. And I've met people I have spoken to people I don't even know personally on LinkedIn just by reaching out to them. I've had persons reach out to me because of things I posted about, and I don't even know them, and they got the opportunities, right? So you want to look for people on LinkedIn who people always put in their profile, right? They have been awarded this scholarship. You want to reach out to them and ask them, how did you do this? How did you get the scholarship? How can you guide me? And that is how you get it. So I know for many of us also we've reached out to people who have helped us for the positions we are in right now, all right? So it helps to network with people online and find out how they did it, and they can also guide you on what they did for that scholarship. So then I see that, say for us in Africa, we're not exposed to codes and programming languages. Hmm. Okay. I wouldn't say that we're not exposed to codes and programming. Well, I guess, yeah, true. Computer science. I remember we were coding on the wall and coding on the board and our books. So I guess that makes sense. So I would just say that you can explore internships. So I know that there's so many internships. LinkedIn is so full of information, honestly. And you can even just Google it, and you can just Google global internships and put LinkedIn, and you will see things pull up, right? So there are so many opportunities that allow you to just come on board for an internship and then experience or learn how to apply certain things so you can be in that space. But before that, I would say try and look at some online courses that can help you to learn programming languages. And specifically, if you're going to machine learning, for example, you want to learn how to program in Python language, right? You want to learn Python programming. You want to learn, in some cases, C, C++. Depending on what you're trying to do. If you're doing web development, you want to learn JavaScript and the rest of them. So, yeah, learn something that's specific to what you want to do. And even I want to say this now for this in this era we have AI, right? AI is on the rise. Now, I have found AI very useful for learning. For learning. If you want to learn something, right? Say, for example, I'm trying to learn something now, and I don't have that time to just sit down and read a whole book. I can take that book, or I can take the websites and I give that to, say, Notebook LM, and it gives me a very good course tailored to where I am at that point in time. You can use AI in the same way to help you learn a new skill. So think about that. Think about if maybe you think that programming is too complex, you can use that AI to break it down for you to a child's level so that you understand it. So that's what I would recommend for you. I hope I was able to address that.
Yeah, I think that was very
Okay.
good.
All
Thank
right. You're welcome.
um think we're almost there. Sorry for taking off much of our time, but if you have any more questions, like we still have some minutes to spare for our speaker to answer your question. So you can drop it in the chat box. So she can read it out or I can read it out. Or you can even just raise up your hand and we can unmute you. So depending. But then like the section was quite clear. There was just a whole lot of information. I've learned a lot of things. Maybe even me that wasn't considering applying for scholarships or fellowships. Like I think I'm considering a lot of things now. So yeah, yes.
Okay. I believe that everyone has been well informed because we don't have any more questions. So thank you very much for having me. Thank you for your time also. I hope that we would have some successful stories from today's session.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Judith, for your time. Thank you for a well, clear, concise presentation. It was very clear, the information and everything. Like, thank you for also sharing your stories. Like, it's so good for us to be able to relate to the stories and be able to like see ourselves there. Um, yeah, so we're going to be closing this section and just give me a second. Okay, so we're going to be closing up the section since we don't have any more questions. So first of all, I just want to thank the speaker once again for a very insightful section. And I want to thank everybody that made out time to attend this section, for the people from our PCDF community, for also the people that are just visiting or that heard about it or saw the post somewhere. Like, thank you for making out time. And I hope that you got a lot of information that you're taking away and that you're going to not just hear or not just listen to, but actually implement, just as she talked about next steps, next actions. And yeah, I remember that she put her LinkedIn details when she was in the closing part. So yeah, you can always reach out to her. Like if you have any question, just as she mentioned that there are people that she doesn't know that have reached out to her on LinkedIn and she has been able to assist them. So like, yeah, if you have any question, you can reach out to her on LinkedIn. Dr. Judith, I hope if you don't mind, you can just share your LinkedIn profile with us on the chat box so that people can probably just connect with you and just ask more questions if maybe some people aren't comfortable asking questions on um, here. So yeah, thank you everyone. And after this section, we're going to be uploading it on YouTube for those of us that were not able to attend. And then also she has sent us all the resources, everything that she mentioned, the spreadsheet, the tracking sheet, everything. So we're going to be sending out and I'll still be sending it out to as many that registered for this event. So you're going to be getting an email containing the slide deck, the presentation, the tracking, everything that she mentioned that she's going to make available. So she has already given it to us. So yeah, you're going to be getting that. And then, yeah, you're also going to get further updates for the next seminar section. So we are going to be calling it a day here. I can see that she has provided her LinkedIn profile here. So it's in the chat box if you want to connect with her. Yeah, do so. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, everybody. There's something that we usually do here in PCDF. So you don't have to do it like if you're comfortable, if you're in a comfortable place and if you feel like we usually take a picture at the end of every section. So for as many that are comfortable, that can turn on their camera so we can see your beautiful and handsome faces and just take a quick picture to just round it up. So yeah, please, if you don't mind. Oh, yeah, thank you. If you don't mind just turning on your camera for just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, so we can say cheese. And yeah, so we can see your faces. Do we have more people that want us to see their wonderful faces? It would be great. Oh, I see a lot of beautiful people. Okay, I guess that will be it. So yeah, am I missing anybody? I don't think so. Okay, so yeah, I'll be taking the picture in. Give me a second. Okay, I see more people are turning on their camera. So yeah, it will be going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Say cheese. Okay, I've gotten it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was good connecting with you all. I'll see you again, maybe in yeah, in 2 months to come. So thank you, Dr. Judith, for making our time to come speak with us. You all have a wonderful and a good day, and I will be stopping my recording here. Thank you.